Welcome to The Disappearing Mind, a unique podcast helping you find clarity and support along your dementia journey. Now, join National Dementia Trainer and Coach Dawn Platt for an all-new episode.
Happy holidays to you and your family. This is Dawn Platt, and thank you for joining me on the Disappearing Mind podcast. I am so happy to have you with me again today. We had started a series early on, and we're continuing that series, that holiday series, with tips that are going to help you and your loved one on their dementia journey as you navigate this holiday season. The holidays can be a time of joy. It can be a time of great memories, but it can also be a time of great stress and even depression for some people. Let's talk about certain tips that you can try as you are navigating the dementia journey and caregiving for an individual. Today, we're going to talk about 3 tips that I feel like can really help you create and remember good memories in and around the holidays, even creating new memories or connecting to old memories. Today, let's go ahead and get started with those tips. Let's talk about reminiscing, remembering, and memory sharing during the holidays. This can be a very joyful experience for you and your loved one. There are ways to engage in reminiscent activities that are going to bring incredible joy to not only you, but to your loved one. And with that, I want to talk about maybe some tips for avoiding overwhelming memories. When an individual has dementia, there is a timeline that they may be operating in. It's very important to recognize that and try to avoid always trying to bring them into your current timeline. Allow them to live in their timeline, to enjoy the time that they're remembering, the time that is vivid in their memory without correction, without reminding them to be in the now. It's really important to individuals. If there's a certain story or a certain topic that they really enjoy, allow that to happen. Encourage that to happen. And I even recommend embellishing some of those stories just to make it more enjoyable for the individual. It doesn't hurt anyone. And if you can create moments of joy for the individual, what better holiday gift could you give? Today, we're going to talk about some of the things that we can do during the holidays to help connect to memories, create memories, and to relive memories. Try choosing topics or photos that bring joyful memories without distress. One of the things that comes to mind for me is a family photo of my mother with her sister and 2 brothers. It's a time and a photo, even though they are all gone before she passed away, that brought her great joy and great memories. She never looked at the photo without a smile on her face or connecting to a story that she really enjoyed telling. Focus on a special joy-giving event or memory, and even consider repeating it and sharing it often if it makes them smile each time. There are funny stories that we all have in our families that your loved one will probably retain for a very long time, especially if it's a childhood memory or something very special in and around your family. Share that often. Talk about it often. Share recipes or compliment them on how the neighbors, your friends, and all relatives could not wait for them to arrive with their most famous baked beans or their perfect pecan pie. Engage the individual with sensory triggers. Music, smells, all of those things will connect your loved one to their holiday memories. Depending on your culture, and where you're from, these are going to be very different. So let me share with you some of mine. The smell of vanilla, the smell of cinnamon and nutmeg, these are all things that really evoke such strong memories in and around the holidays. Every time I smell vanilla or every time I smell cinnamon, I think of my grandmother's apple pies and apple dumplings, which my mother so loved and always wanted made in and around the holidays. There was always an apple pie without measure. It was always there. This is something that the smell alone can evoke a great memory, even a taste of that sort of holiday memory that's specific to your family. Yours may be different, but I'm sure you have something. This type of sensory trigger will help support positive recall for the individual with dementia. My grandmother used to make homemade noodles, and you would go into her house, and she had this, what seemed to be an 18-foot oak table. It wasn't quite that big, but as a child, it seemed that big to me, with all of these chairs around it. And every chair, every oak chair would be covered with noodles that she had cut, and they were there drying. That's a memory that my mother always had. It's a memory that I have, not as strongly as my mom, but it was something that she really enjoyed. She enjoyed reminiscing in and around the holidays, especially as we do reminisce our past life. Avoid correcting or contradicting their memories. Your loved one, as my mother did, may embellish a little bit or may not tell the whole story. Does it matter? Does it really matter? Let them tell the story as they remember it. Let them tell the story and be the expert in the storytelling. Don't contradict their memories or their thoughts. It just really isn't worth it. It doesn't prove a point, and it really doesn't matter. So avoid contradicting or correcting their memories. Share different reminisce activity ideas like creating memory boxes, or again, pulling out old pictures, or storytelling. When my mom would connect to something from the past, she would tell a story, usually about her father. And some of these stories were stories that I maybe had not heard before. She went through this time where she pulled a lot of old memories that she just didn't really share as often as I was growing up. She didn't share those memories. She had not spoken of them, but they were current in her mind. So offer those opportunities for your loved one. It will mean a lot to them. Let's talk a little bit about body language, patience, and validation. Again, going back to correcting or contradicting, really, they're looking at you. They can read your body language. If you have heard this story 100 times, it's going to show. Try not to do that. Be kind, have a listening ear while they're telling stories, and encourage them. It's only for a few minutes, and it's going to make such a difference to them. Bring that validation that they need by encourage them, telling a story about what others have to say about them. During my mom's dementia journey, she had a lot of personality change, and she became a little bit narcissistic. And I just had to go with it because she had this need to be self-assured, to validate who she was as a person and to be liked. And she was really her entire life. But I had to go with it. And I had to encourage things like talking about the awards she had won at her job and what people thought about her. And it always made her smile. It was very important to her. And I think that it brought great comfort. Think about those things as you are reminiscing with your loved one during this holiday season. Let's talk about navigating holiday gatherings. This is really important. You got to pick and choose. You need to come up with some strategies for balancing holiday events, excitement, that kind of thing. Really, you need to look at what are the best choices. You need to balance excitement with the calm environment that respects the needs of your loved one. There are lots of things going on during the holiday holiday season. You do not have to engage your loved one in all of those. This is the time you pick and choose what you want to do and what is practical for your loved one to do. That's going to be really important. Doing too many things during the holiday may produce something negative. It may produce fatigue. It may produce a behavior. Be careful about that. Keep gatherings on a smaller side and familiar to avoid overwhelming the person. Never put them in a situation where they could be embarrassed or that they could realize that they're not recognizing something or someone that perhaps without the dementia they would have. Avoid that at all costs. Keep your engagement brief, being aware that there may be limitations that your loved one is going through. Don't go beyond what they can tolerate. And let me give you an example of this. My mom loved to shop. I've told you that. I love to shop. She taught me that. She loved to shop. But there was a point where we had to not go to 3 stores in one day, maybe visit one for a time limit because it became overwhelming to her. And we really didn't want to push her. She still enjoyed it. But 3 stores was a little bit too much. Same thing for events and holiday affairs. I remember one time an event for my granddaughter, her first birthday. My mom became so overwhelmed. She really just zoned out. And that was really because we had done it in an unfamiliar environment. There were too many people and a little bit too much noise in the ballroom where we did it. And it just caused her to really zone out. When we did our holiday Thanksgiving, just 2 weeks later, she really didn't have that reaction. So be aware of that. Prepare family and friends on the best ways to interact. Give them a few ideas. Keep it very simple and very basic. Plan a quiet space that you can retreat with your loved one if needed. They do not have to be in the center and the middle of everything, especially gift opening. This can become overwhelming to the individual. Briefing guests on how to relate and about any dementia-related behaviors or reactions. And when I say reaction, some people expect the same reaction that an individual might have given them years ago, and they're no longer capable of that. Make that very clear to the individual. It's not personal. It's not them being cold. It's that it just isn't there anymore, and let them know that, not to have that expectation. Always look at structured gatherings and gear those around quieter, more meaningful activities that your loved one can enjoy without being overly fatigued. Share times together, reminisce. Games and activities that everyone enjoys together. Maybe have your loved one on the sideline and allow them to just watch or participate or laugh rather than having them in the middle of that particular game or engagement that the family is doing. Lastly, on this segment, I want to talk about recognizing decline during family visits. Some of these tips kind of come together, but there's some very different points that I want to bring out, especially in and around this one. And use visits, especially if you are a family member or a child visiting your parents during the holidays or a relative during the holidays, and you haven't seen them for 6 months or even a year. Use these visits as an opportunity to observe changes in their behavior or health. Talking to someone on the phone and seeing them in person or their home environment can really provide a solid clue to decline. Please make sure and take note of that, and do not disregard changes in cognitive behavior. This may be the first opportunity you have to help this person. Engage family members in gentle, kind of non-judgmental assessment. Don't come in overwhelming, asking too many questions, poking your nose in someone's business. You have to have respect and regard with where the person's at, especially if they're a relative and not a direct parent. Approach that with a lot of respect and with an invitation to delve further into their business. Take a look and maybe even document any concerns to share with their doctor or the rest of the family after visiting, any concerns you have, especially if a person is early into it and you get together with them every 6 months or so. Make sure and keep tabs on any changes in their condition you're seeing. I want to talk a little bit about common signs that you might see in decline, especially early decline, like any changes in balance or mobility, really any confusion you might see in timelines or even names of families or relatives that they may experience. These are some of the common things that you may see with a relative that you have not seen in a while who could be experiencing cognitive decline. Let's talk about looking at some of the observations that you might want to make if you're visiting their home and you see mail piled up and newspapers and periodicals, and you see things in their refrigerator that are clearly outdated, maybe molded. You want to be discreet. Be discreet about what you're seeing without causing obvious stress to the individual, especially if you're helping to tidy up or if you're helping to throw some things out. Do it in a manner that's inviting. Do not be pushy. Do not be accusing of the individual. Make sure and offer them some grace as you are assisting them, especially if you're not in their home very often. I encourage family dialogue about observations and to really talk about future care plans and what you're going to do, what the options are, what the person will allow you to do, especially if it's a newly declining relative or friend. Take a look at that. And it's something that you can contribute to support this person that you obviously care about. That's all I have today for your tips in and around the holidays. There's many opportunities to support a person with dementia in and around the holidays to make it less stressful, to make it memorable and enjoyable for everyone. Tune in to the next segment in and around holiday tips with dementia. Till next time, make it a memorable day.
Thank you for joining us for the Disappearing Mind podcast. We hope it's helped you find clarity and support along your journey. Be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode, visit our website to suggest future topics, and share the podcast with friends and family.